Hi, I'm Rachel, that's Missy behind me, and I'm here to do the stay-at-home book tag. The stay-at-home book tag was created at Princess of Paperback, and I will link to her video down below. And this is a tag, obviously, inspired by coronavirus. And since the coronavirus will be a big part of world history, and sadly a big part of world present, I thought I'd commemorate it here. Maybe not the best word. But if we're going to mostly stay inside and fashion our lives around a bunch of pandemic restrictions, then maybe there should be a book tag about it. So here are the prompts. Number 1, lying in bed. Name a book you could have read in a day. I think I'm going to turn this on its head a little bit because in general I have difficulty reading any book in more than 2 or 3 days or even more. And as much as I'd like to be a speed reader, because there's so much to read, I also love the experience of just sinking slowly into a book. Also, for this prompt and the next prompt, I'm focusing on 2 books that are novelizations of the author's grandparents' life. The first is an adult thriller, Button Man by Andrew Gross. I had to read this for book club, and otherwise I probably wouldn't have. It's a high-octane retelling of Gross's grandfather, who was a businessman in the Jewish Lower East Side in the 30s. And he stood up to real-life mobster Louis Buchalter. Apparently with feats of Superman strength, if we're to believe the climax. There's a lot more action in this than there is any sort of character development, and although it was fun in the moment, I was kind of glad to be done with it. Prompt 2, snacking. Name a guilty pleasure book. So that second grandparent story I'll talk about is Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. Thanks to the uncensored DC scavenger hunt, a September event that I'm almost positive won't make it this year because of coronavirus, I'm reading a little bit more middle grade fiction. Pretty far below my current age range, but kind of nostalgic too. This one is inspired by the author's grandmother, who came to America from Mexico in the 30s after her father was killed in the aftermath of a civil war there. And she came as a child and worked on a farm community in California. It's middle grade, so there are some tidy edges here and there. But I thought it made history and social issues tenable to a younger audience, with a protagonist who grew and side characters with varying perspectives. Prompt 3, Netflix, a series you want to start. Hoo boy! Part of me loves the idea of science fiction and fantasy series, and part of me is scared off by them. So I think I'm going to kind of cheat again and talk about The Telling by Ursula K. Le Guin. I think it was Rachel at Colonnati Books who said this would be a good book to start with for reading Le Guin's Hainish cycle. The thing is, it's book number 8, but I think these books are standalone enough that I don't have to read all of them to get this one. Though maybe I should read The Left Hand of Darkness too, since that's the one I understand has all the hype. Anywho, The Telling, as I understand it, is about an Earth person who goes to a distant planet and observes people practicing a lost religion. Maybe I can tweak the Maybe Midrash Readathon sometime and read about a fake faith. Prompt 4, Deep Clean, a book that's been on your TBR for ages. I may have books on my physical shelves that are older, but I decided to go to my Goodreads TBR for this one. And the first book on the list just came in the mail the other day. My Father is an Angry Storm Cloud by Melissa Reddish. These are short stories published by someone I went to school with back in the day, and I plan to read them next month. Prompt 5, Animal Crossing. Name a book you bought recently because of the hype. I'm rarely a hype buyer, so I'm going to kind of fudge things and cheat again. When it comes to hyped books that I want to read, I'm usually cool with checking them out of the library. Then again, with libraries closed for the indefinite future now, maybe I should just go ahead and buy The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. Station 11, her last book, is one of my favorite books, but I do think it's a fair bit different than this book. But a few booktubers I've watched do seem to like it, so I don't know. I could just go ahead and try and get it through digital copies through my library. I'll only have to wait some 17 to 19 weeks. Prompt 6, Productivity, a book you learned from or had an impact on you. Man, I love cheating. Or let's just say, I like thinking outside of the box. That, or I feel inclined to mention the BookTube Prize in nearly every video I make. The BookTube Prize is a year-long event where judges affiliated with the BookTube community rank fiction, literary fiction, and nonfiction that were published in the last year and whittle down to a favorite, or two favorites. For the past 4 months, give or take, I've been reading nonfiction books for the octafinals round and now the quarterfinals round. Most of these books I probably never would have picked up on my own. But they've opened my eyes to so much history and so many social issues and, of course, have tickled that sweet spot, I guess, with my beloved memoirs. I'll leave a link for more BookTube Prize info down below. Prompt 7, FaceTime, a book you were gifted. My sister graciously got me 3 books that I asked for over the winter holidays. And I've since read one of them. I have yet to read a second for the aforementioned Maybe Midrash readathon, but anyway. This is All This Could Be Yours by Jamie Attenberg, which I picked to read in my last page 112 tag. This book is about a tyrannical patriarch who dies in the beginning, and about the ongoing trauma he had inflicted upon his family. It's also a stream of consciousness book where we get to briefly follow the perspectives of other people, varying people who come in contact with the family during this time. It's an interesting commentary on how lives intersect and the people we often take for granted. Prompt 8, self-care. What is one thing you have done recently to look after yourself? Admittedly, part of the reason I have waited this long to get to this tag rather than say Tag Tuesday is because I just went ahead and did something this afternoon that I should have been doing a while back. In the vein of a bunch of other booktubers who have answered this question, it has to do with exercise, and particularly about me kind of keeping up some of my old routines that I had before I was furloughed. I don't have a car, so when I go around to work and to other places, I use my feet and public transportation. Today was a gorgeous day, and I decided I really ought to just go ahead and take a longer walk than just a couple blocks around my condo. So I went down to the Silver Spring Metro, wanted to check how they were doing on the Purple Line construction. The Purple Line is a light rail system that will run between some of the Maryland suburbs in the DC area. There's a lot of other construction. It seems to be the big thing that's still going on around this time. And I thought I'd check out an outlet on the other side of the metro for me, just to see what the businesses around there look like, and just to walk around and enjoy the weather and get my feet moving. So I took a little bit of footage of what it's like to live in this strange, crazy time. And finally, a bonus prompt. Name a book that's coming out soon. There's only one that's taking over my complete horizon right now, and it is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I've pre-ordered the Barnes & Noble version, and I'm definitely all in on the hype on this one. This is my most anticipated release of the year. This is a Hunger Games prequel which follows President Snow back when he was 18 and about to enter the political arena. And also, in a way, the Hunger Games arena. Anywho, I'm not sure how much I'll be talking about this book on here. I'll certainly be polishing a lot of my thoughts for a blog post or two because this series has meant a lot to me. But I'm sure you'll be seeing at least a glimpse of the book on my channel relatively soon. So that about covers it for me. You can find links to all the books I mentioned down below. Another reason this has been a relatively interesting day for me is that I got a social call within the pandemic. My brother-in-law had some business just a couple blocks away from me, so he stopped in and we had some Panera. This was really a special time for me because it's the first time in 2 months I've seen anyone in my family face to face. He was very gracious to sit down with me and give updates and chatter and let me blab on and on about my life. And I was so thrilled about this. Missy seemed to like him. She trotted right on over to him after a while. I was a little nervous because she's not always the friendliest cat. She's been known to hiss at a couple of people. Also, a few days ago, or actually for the last week, I've had people from the gas company tromping in and out of my condo due to a huge gas leak in the building that I talked about in some previous videos. It's thankfully been resolved by now, but when they were tromping back and forth around, my stove and my water heater, Missy and I were just kind of chilling here in the bedroom. Maybe the reason she trotted over to my brother-in-law is because she knew I was comfortable with him. I hope so, but it would be nice for her to get along with more people. But my brother-in-law has a very gentle touch. I think cats are drawn to him. So yeah, that was a good start for the day for me, I think, because for the first time in a long time I had to prep myself to do something with someone in person. So, really got me out the door later, I guess, to do my walk and now to sit down to do this video and hope to keep up the productive streak from here. I'll be back in a few days to talk about my Friday reads. I hope you all have a good week. Until then, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.